Coming up on Network Africa, the UN warns of deepening ethnic violence and humanitarian crisis in the DR Congo. South Sudan President Salva Kiir replaces the country's army chief. And a Ugandan activist, Stella Nyazi, who called the president a derogatory name, has been granted bail. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Temita Fagbimi. We begin today in Central Africa, where thousands of people have fled fighting in the Democratic Republic of Congo over the past month to seek refuge in neighboring Angola. A provincial governor in Angola, Ernesto Wangala, says officials have counted more than 20,000 refugees in his Lunda North province, almost double the number recorded a month ago. Meanwhile, the United Nations has also warned that spreading ethnic violence is driving more people from their homes in the DRC, where the humanitarian situation is dramatically deteriorating.
Rain Paulson, the head of the UN Humanitarian Office in the Democratic Republic of Congo, says some 100,000 people were uprooted last week alone, bringing the ranks of displaced in the central Kasai region to nearly 1.3 million.
The 1st of January 2016, OCHA estimated that there were 1.6 million IDPs in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 15 months later, at the end of March 2017, as you will see in the fact sheet that's been handed out, we find ourselves with an estimated 3.7 million IDPs in the country. That's an increase of more than 2 million refugees in the space of the last 15 months.
Paulson is also concerned about the growing incidence of attacks on aid workers, adding that this limits access to populations in need, especially children. He estimates that 1.9 million children under the age of 5 are severely acutely malnourished.
One of the key drivers for this acute level of malnutrition also relates to the overlap between epidemics and the health situation and what's happening in the country. So last year in the DRC, we had to face a cholera epidemic at scale. We had to face a measles epidemic with close to 30,000 proven cases in the former Katanga province. We had an outbreak of yellow fever that required the distribution of some 10.2 million doses of yellow fever vaccine.
The UN said last month that it had documented 40 mass grave sites and killings of more than 400 people in Kasai, the focus of the fight against the Communion Sapu militia since August, when security forces killed its leader. The militia has been fighting largely to avenge his death. Paulson cited fresh reports from UN staff of inter-ethnic fighting in the Kasai, including the Penda and Chokwe ethnic groups against the Luba and clashes between the Lunda and Luba.
What we have in the Kasai is a protection crisis of massive proportions, and the first people that it impacts are the Congolese, unfortunately, themselves, and they're the ones that are suffering displacement, and also in terms of killings, unfortunately, they are really the ones that are at the center of what's taking place.
Paulson adds that the United Nations has received just 19% of the $812.5 million sought in the humanitarian appeal for Congo this year. The world body said last month that it was horrified by a video screened by the government that appeared to show the brutal killing of 2 UN investigators. Congo's government said the film showed members of an anti-government militia carrying out the act, although that has not been confirmed by either the UN or independent analysts.
In the meantime, the United Nations has condemned the killing of 4 peacekeepers in the Central African Republic following an attack on their convoy by Christian militants in the southeast of the country. 1 peacekeeper from Cambodia was killed by gunfire during the attack near the town of Bangassou, about 730 kilometers east of the capital Bangui. 3 other peacekeepers were also found dead on Tuesday, having gone missing during the attack, and 1 peacekeeper remains missing. The attack comes after 5 international aid agencies temporarily suspended their operations in northern Central African Republic last week because of attacks on humanitarian workers by armed groups.
A note from the Central African Republic, where our colleagues in the mission today strongly condemned the attack on one of its convoys that occurred last night near Bankasu, which is about 474 kilometers east of Bangui. Initial reports indicate 1 Cambodian peacekeeper was killed and 8 peacekeepers were injured, including 1 Cambodian and 7 Moroccans. In addition, 3 peacekeepers that had additionally been reported missing have now been found dead. One peacekeeper remains missing. The UN mission has sent a helicopter and additional troops to secure the site and continues to search for the missing peacekeeper. The injured peacekeepers were evacuated to Bangui and are now receiving medical aid. The UN mission is obviously closely coordinating with officials from the Central African Republic to ensure that the perpetrators are arrested and brought to justice. We join the special representative of the mission in extending our deepest condolences to the families of the victims, their contingent, and the country.
Staff, regarding the death.
The president of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, has replaced his army chief, Paul Malong, with a general who is a member of an ethnic minority. This comes after a series of resignations by senior generals alleging tribal bias and war crimes. The Minister of Defense, Kwon Mayang-juk, says the president has appointed General James Ajongo as the new army chief. He also played down the significance of Malong's removal, calling it just a normal practice of changing somebody and bringing in another person. In West Africa, the head of Gambia's central bank, Amadou Koli, who was appointed by the previous president, Yahya Jammeh, has been sacked. No official reason was given for the dismissal, and Mr. Koli also says that he does not know why he has been fired. The former central bank chief served under President Jammeh, who has been accused by some in the new administration of having looted millions of dollars during his 22-year-old rule. Since taking office in January, President Adama Barrow has replaced officials in key positions to exert his authority. Mr. Barrow defeated the former president in elections in December, but Mr. Jammeh only stepped down after weeks of diplomatic pressure. He is now living in exile in Equatorial Guinea.